away. I hope this will hold. I am so excited. Thank you for showing up again to the Power of Forgiveness Festival Part 2. Today we're diving in. Yes, yes, all sounds great. That's perfect. Today we're diving in, and I just want to say thank you for all the comments and the messages I received. I even had a message from someone which I so loved, and an email coming through from someone I haven't seen since 1992. And yes, of course, I remember you. Didn't have the time to email back just yet because it's all been a bit crazy. But this has just been wonderful to see how everybody's diving in, what's popping up for people, and the questions you've asked. So that's great. The first video from Monday had close to 300 views by now. That is Facebook combined with the replay on YouTube. And I always go right after this, I go to YouTube and do the same thing in German as well. So that session had, almost 300 views. Well, it was this afternoon. So that was really exciting for me. And in the last video, I showed you that if you want more success, more happiness, more love, or any kind of real change in your life, you have to learn how to forgive. That is what I've learned from 10 years of coaching high performing people, as well as people in everyday life. So it's not just the footballers and the pop stars and the singers and the actors, but the doctors and the students and the mothers and the teachers and the pensioners. If you want to change something in your life, forgiveness is a huge part of that. We talked about this. And if you're here for the first time today, I just want to urge you to go back and watch that video, find it on this page, or just I'll show you later how you can find it. I also told you about how I was never feeling good enough and always felt guilty wherever I showed up, and how forgiveness completely turned this around for me. And wonderful, how forgiveness really turned this around for me and actually landed me one of my dream parts. So forgiveness was a huge part of landing that role for me. And I even let it slip that I believe forgiveness was responsible for one of my clients writing a #1 hit. That was in the drawer for over 10 years. So I see what is possible. So I hope by now you changed your perspective, your view on forgiveness a little bit. And then we debunked the 3 major myths that I think are keeping people from actually even looking into this, and that keeps people from taking huge opportunities. And the first myth is forgiveness is for the other person. Forgiveness is for the person that I forgive. And that's BS. That's bullshit. Forgiveness is for you, to set you free, to reclaim your power, and to make some, as I said, real changes in your life. The second, and full disclosure again, I've got my notes down here, so I keep it online, and we keep this, well under 30 minutes today. The second myth that holds people back is that forgiveness will protect you. Well, no, that not forgiving will protect you from that never happening again. And the truth is, by not forgiving, you are holding yourself in the same energy that you are trying to protect yourself from. I know this is hard to hear, and this is really, really uncomfortable. But it's almost like you keep a foot in that puddle and you drag that dirt around with you, and you say, well, I'm just making sure I'm not stepping into this. Well, you are in it the whole time. You won't be free until you completely step into that forgiveness. And the third myth is, if I forgive, I bring them back into my life. I mean, there's a few more myths than that, but for me, these are the biggest ones that continuously show up. And no, you don't have to bring them back. They don't even know that you go into forgiveness. Which brings me to a question that popped up, even though I wanted to do that later, where, people have asked me now, do the people that I need or want to forgive, do they need to be present? And no, they don't. They don't even have to know you're doing this. They might not even be alive. I keep always saying this because a lot of time we hold anger, resentment, unforgiveness towards something that happened so long ago, I don't know what that accent was, so long ago that these people might not even be on this planet anymore. Or they're just not part of our little universe. So no, you don't have to have them present. You do all this by yourself. And what's interesting was someone sent me a private message on Instagram saying, I translated this loosely here. It's madness when someone listens to your part one of the Festival of Forgiveness, how suddenly people come into your head with whom you, she said, really still have a coffee open. And that's, I never even heard that in German, but I think it's so on the point. And what she means is where stuff is still unresolved and you need to talk about it. It still needs to come on the table. Um, get on the table. But again, you actually don't have to have that coffee with them. It's just important. This is so interesting because you know the moment you dive into this work, stuff that's still lingering. I remember how I was still holding resentment towards a teacher that was wishing me that I would have burned my entire face when I was 14 in front of the entire school. And for some, I don't know, it sure did something to my entire system if it still popped up. So there's stuff that will pop up, and why this is so important to keep cleaning it up, we'll get to that later. So this is what we did last time. And so what people have asked me, as well as do I need to have that person present, is how does it actually work? Now I understand that forgiveness is for me. I understand how powerful this is, but how does it actually work and how do I implement it? And this is what we are doing today. So give me a little thumbs up. Are you ready for this? Do you want to dive in? Yeah, it's so good to see you. Oh, wonderful. I have been using forgiveness for so long, as I said, with all these people, and I've seen it make major changes. And I remember a business owner, a CEO of a company, and where we worked on this, on his relationship with a business partner. And I chose to tell this, I know I mentioned this before, but I chose to tell this again because I think it's a story that is very relatable for a lot of people. So what came up while we were working, this was a one-on-one coaching program, and while we were working, this thing came up where there was resentment, or there was, he just wanted to better the relationship with his business partner. It wasn't going the way they wanted it to go. And in that work, we realized, oh, that is kind of an old dynamic. I know this still from the past. So we did forgiveness around certain people, certain areas, including the business partner, but also the family, including the dad. And so we went deep, and it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be painful, but we went deep, and it was done 50 minutes later, 15, 20 minutes later. And then a week later, I get a message saying, this is fascinating. The business relationship is so much better than it has been in a long time. But what's really fascinating is that my relationship to my dad is the best it's ever been. Something shifted, and it must have been the forgiveness piece, but something shifted. Otherwise, I couldn't put my finger on it. And what's even more interesting is, ever since then, my blood pressure dropped. Can that be related? And I've seen this so many times. Of course, if we carry a constant stress over 10, 20, 30, 40 years, because that's something that your dad said to you maybe 40 years ago, every stress creates a stress on the system. And yes, if we release a stress, it does have a health effect as well. That's in my experience. I'm not a doctor, but I do observe this over and over again. And that is why I'm so confident that this will work for you. And why I just love sharing this work. So I want to go through the 5 steps of how I think you need to address forgiveness to make it work. And the first one, these are the 5 steps after you changed your perspective. I had this as step number 1 first, but since that was last session, I kept it out. So first we're changing our perspective, and hopefully you've done that you realize, well, actually, forgiveness is just a word. It sounds heavy because it reminds me of something, but actually I realize this is about me. And I realize I'm dragging that old story around with me as long as I don't let it go. Once we change that forgiveness and you are actually ready to at least begin it, I know that sometimes we feel, I don't really want to go there, but I understand that I want to set myself free. That's a great start. If you don't feel straight away like, yeah, that was the biggest pain in my life, but I'm happily letting this go now, that rarely ever happens. The more you do this, the more you understand how good this is for you, the more joyfully you actually do this. I mean, I'm a forgiveness ninja. I literally forgive left, right, and center every day wherever I go because I don't want to carry any crap from everyone else, from anyone else around with me. But that takes time to get there. So once you have that change of perception, we take step number one, and that is our intention. And I hope you've got something to write, as if this would be a pen. I hope you've got something to write so you actually can go back onto this later. Set the intention of what you want to let go, what that pain is, and get clear on why. I cannot stress this enough, how important this is to get clear why you actually want to let this go. Because most people just think, I don't want this pain anymore. I don't want to keep thinking of this wife that cheated on me 15 years ago, or my blood boiling when I think of the husband that cheated on me 20 years ago, whatever, that's unfortunately a very common topic. So they know what pain they want to let go, but they actually never think about what happens when they don't have that baggage anymore. And that's the most important bit for me. So get very clear to not just think of what happens to not just think I want to drop the pain. I feel suffocated, I feel stuffed, I feel stuck, I feel painful, I feel sad, I feel traumatized. You need to also think, and do this in writing, this will help. Do this in writing. You need to think, what happens? I want my power back. I want my self-love back, my self-respect. I want to land better roles. I want to get better jobs. I want better relationships. Start dreaming. If you know me a little bit, you will have heard me say this 1,000 times, that I like using the sentence, what if? Or that I like starting a sentence with, what if? What if I trust again? What if I can land a better role? What if by letting this go, I trust again? What if I can actually meet a person that resonates with me? How wonderful would that be? I'm sure you can feel the energy right now, the shift in energy from the heaviness. So we need to not get stuck in the heaviness and shift that perception and shift the focus, the intention. Get clear and create this new space. My dear colleague Marsha Martin always says there's only two things. There's space and things in space. And in order to create new things, we have to have the space for it. That means we need to get rid of all things in that space. And that is what we're doing. We're creating the space for something new to come in. Oh, I can feel some hearts popping here. We need to create the space for some new things coming in. Let it be the job, let it be your dream role, let it be that new partner, let it be a more abundant life. And that is what we're doing here. Get clear on the why and get clear on what you want to let go of. Then step 2 is forgiveness is not a one-layer thing. It's not oh, this has hurt me 20 years ago. I do one forgiveness session because I just need to forgive that person and then we're done. I wish it was. But usually, especially if it's that long ago, there is different areas, different angles involved. And I believe I work with 5 different angles, which is forgiving myself, forgiving the other person, forgiving myself in today's time, forgiving myself when I was a child, forgiving God, life, universe, and forgiving the collective. We're not going into this today. If you just address the first 2, you will make massive changes in your life. So again, get clear on what the different angles are, because people just think I'm just angry and I don't want to forgive that person. But chances are that you're not just angry at that person for doing this to you. You might be angry at yourself for holding on to this for 20 years. You might be angry at yourself for not spotting the signs that something was off beforehand. You might have been part of the problem. Maybe you think that, maybe you weren't. So just keep thinking. One question that I like asking, and please write this down, is what else in this situation am I angry about or annoyed by? And you will find the answer. So start forgiving that person. Let's go with a breakup because that's just it's gentle, not when you're in it, but it's not the big trauma that we can also work with. And you go, well, that person left me for another person. And so I'm angry and I need to, let's say that was a man, I need to forgive him for leaving me. The steps we clear up later, but then you go, well, if I've forgiven that part, what else am I angry about in this situation? And you go, well, actually, I didn't see the signs that he was cheating behind my back for 20 years, or he told me that he was unhappy and I didn't change anything about myself. I didn't think it was important. So you need to forgive. I need to forgive myself as well. So you do the little process on yourself. And then you go, what else angers me about this? Well, maybe it angers you that we didn't, despite the fights, that we didn't stay friends. Then you need to forgive that person or him again for not becoming friends. And then you ask again, what else angers me? And so you see there's different spikes that are in that. I'm not sure why I'm seeing an orange right now. There's different spikes in that orange, different splinters in your finger that you just need to pull out until it's all free again. So it's not just one thing. Look at it again. It's clarity again. Get clarity on what singular puzzle pieces are involved. Step 3, try to see the other person's point of view. Whoa, I know people are getting angry usually at this. Try to see the other person's point of view. Now, this might be easier if someone just fell out of love. This might not be so easy if someone did some unspeakable things. There's rape or physical hurt or abuse or anything like this involved. The soul, the act. You forgive the soul, the person, but never the act. Well, you can forgive the act, but you don't have to forgive the act. And so sometimes we can't see how broken that person was. Sometimes it helps us to see where they come from, their conditioning, that they've been brought up with so much hatred and so much fighting that it wasn't really their fault that they turned out that person. Understanding does not mean agreeing. This is major. To understand someone does not mean that you agree with the action or with the person or what they've done. For me, it's just always, yeah, I understand that that person really had no other chance than becoming an asshole. Still not nice, but it helps me to create a little bit of distance. It takes a bit of a thorn, a bit of the splinter out already. Sometimes we see it and sometimes we don't. We don't need it, it just makes it easier. So see the other person's point of view. Just try. From their point of view, what happened? In many cases, it does help. Step 4, then make your forgiveness statement. Now, when I teach my big course where we go into all different areas, of course I have fixed statements that are just worded so clearly that it really, that it whizzes through. But some words might even not resonate with you. So the importance is not that you use certain words. The importance is that you do it. And the forgiveness statement for me is just saying, I forgive you. I don't hold this anger anymore, and I reclaim my power. If you just do this, I forgive you, I don't hold this anger anymore, and I reclaim my power, and play with the words, because I don't want you to get hung up on the words. It's about an intention. Now we're coming back to that first question again. You're doing this by yourself. You visualize this. So you're sitting down, you can close your eyes, you can have your eyes open. I like going to the beach, standing on the beach, sun is dropping in the ocean. I see that person coming towards me in a very safe distance, but it's just a visualization. I try to understand their point of view and I say, I forgive you. I hold no anger, no resentment, no unforgiveness back anymore, and I reclaim my power to be free, to love again, because this was always mine. Will this feel like a lie the first time you do this? Most likely. But I know there's a couple of people here who know this work and who've known this work for probably 10, even 12, 13 years. Um, Maybe you can drop in just a little message how that felt after you've done it a couple of times and if it helped you at all. Because usually the more we do it, suddenly it becomes easier. It becomes normal to forgive again. You just need to make the statement because every intention changes something. And then you reclaim your power, you stated that, by connecting to your why again. This is important to get into the good energy again. Getting some good hearts here. Wonderful. So, first step, set your intention, why, what you want to let go and why you want to let go. So what's the reason? Where do you want to go? Look at the different angles. Step 2, try to understand the other person's point of view. Make the forgiveness statement, reclaim your power by diving into the new vision is the best way to describe this. And that's it. Now, the problem is it seems so simple that I know that most people are very tempted to not do it tomorrow. Now, I'm sure you're all different. Write this down, put it on your table because this is not in your matrix yet. This is not in your DNA yet. Write it down, go through the different people that have popped up in your head and just try it. Visualize them, see them standing in front of you and go there. See their point of view, make the statement, reclaim your power, ask yourself what else is angering me about the situation, and then do the same thing with yourself. Then you don't have to meet yourself at the beach, you just talk to yourself. It is this simple. You just really need to start it and try it. Now I know that you understand forgiveness better and that there's a concept, that there's a method. And when I do the big course, of course, you get a map, you get a true map how you can create a full process for yourself because every process in every situation is different. And then you can really make sure it's guaranteed that you clear up if you keep going. But this is massive content as long as you implement it. I beg you to try it out and not just once, but do it for a week. And you understand how forgiveness now works, but you really probably don't know how to do it and don't understand quite how to implement it or how to use it in your life. And that is what I will show you in the next session. So on Friday, we meet again, same time, 7:30 UK, 8:30 German. And I will give you a couple of examples and guide you through the process again and show you how that shows up and why it's so important to do it with the little things as well as the big things. Why I love this so much, I had someone on the English course, which used to be called The Power of Forgiveness, the 8-week course. And even though he was a dear friend of mine, he's a big skeptic. He showed up on the first session and he just said, well, how do I know this works? How do I see? How am I guaranteed? How will I know? And I said, well, just do the process and you'll see in the end, you'll find out. And the most wonderful thing is how he said in the end, and this is a very, very, very experienced man. And I was hoping, I was waiting to see what his experience was. And of course, we're in touch the whole time. And he said, this was outstanding because I think it was on a retreat. And one of his colleagues or friends showed up, stood behind him and made a comment about his thinning hair. And he said, I got so angry because it triggered all my insecurities and my vanities. And this is how I remember it now. And my vanity. And, I got really, really angry that someone comments on me getting, my hair's getting thin out there. And he said, and then I remembered the steps because we were right in the middle of the course. And he said, I went through all the singular steps. And for me, literally going up in flames, I just calmed down and it was gone and the trigger was gone. And the best part was the whole thing took me 60 seconds. I think he said 30 seconds. This is how it works in the end. You just have to practice it because once you understand, it's a, yeah, I can let this go. Unless there's something bigger. It's almost like you have to start with the big stuff. Imagine you move into a house, you found the perfect house, but the last owner was a messy. So that's totally dirty, dirt everywhere, wallpaper falling off, floorboards ripped open, rat dripping, dropping somewhere, toilet exploded. This is going to take some time to actually make that house look clean. So you do the heavy stuff in the beginning until you have your perfect clean home. And then once a week, twice a week, you clean the corners, you wash the floors, you scrub the toilet just to stay clean. And this is how forgiveness works. We start with the big stuff if you want, and then it's maintenance. It's truly just maintenance. And if you are listening, the one who likes to ruffle my cage, I send you all my love. I loved that moment so much. So that was it for today. I hope, let me know. It helped a lot. The first time felt weird. Thank you for saying this, Zadwa, because it does. It does. Of course, it feels weird, but it is my go-to tool on a regular basis. I realized that forgiving myself still stays the hardest, but using Guido's method has done a massive shift. I'm happy I did the entire course. Thank you for saying this, especially that it feels weird because that's just the normal thing. So I hope I've brought some light into this. I hope you took some notes and you start playing with this tomorrow until we meet again on Friday, hopefully. And what I want you to do is now just scroll down in the comments and put your questions in there. If you have any questions, because that I can put them into the next call. If you have any questions how this could work, if there's anything that flags up, there is no stupid questions. We know that. If you have the question, someone else will have it as well. I try to anticipate a lot of them. Scroll down, put the comments in. If you had any aha moments, please share them with me as well. And if you had any experiences as well as Zoe here, then please, I would love it if you share them with me as well. You can also send me an email or just a message on Instagram or here on Facebook. I've received them all. And also, if you want the replay of this, go down to, I'm just going to put that in the comment box here. Go to guidoszymanski.com/festival and you get on my list and I'll send you the replay every time it goes out. So just scroll down, find the link, join the list, and then I'll send you the replays and you can work through. And the last thing is, right after we close this, I have 15 minutes of a break. I switch over to YouTube and do the whole thing in German. So if your mother tongue is German, as is mine, hence the funny accent, come over, see me do all this work on YouTube as well. Otherwise, it will be there for you for the replay. I hope you had a great night. Scroll down, comment, please like. This will also help me to get the message out. You're welcome. I still have that fantasy, that dream to make forgiveness pandemical. Is that a word? Let's make it a word. Let's make it go viral because people need to forgive. I think that's a great chance we have in this world. Have a beautiful night. And I see you on Friday.